Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Deanna and I make videos about mental health and lifestyle. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about my education, my career, my hopes, my dreams for the future, and also talking about some of the things I wanted to do as a child.
And trying to remain so strong. I know it's good if I'm alone. I got it, I gotta go, running.
So I'm going to start off with the compulsory education, which was obviously schooling. So I was privately educated until the age of 11, so year 6, grade 6, however you kind of look at it. I was then moved to a state school because I failed my 11 plus. I was never really the top of the class. I was actually probably the bottom of the class. And I was only at the bottom of the class really because I was almost working 2 years ahead of my time. I was one of the youngest in the year, and the year group was already working at a year above what they should have been working at, because it was a private school and they like to kind of, educate you at least 6 months to a year ahead of what you would be doing in a state school. So then when I moved to the grade school for year 7, I was actually repeating what I'd done in year 6, which gave me an advantage over a lot of the other pupils. I was originally put in, I think it was in set 4 maths or something, and by the end of the year I had been moved to set 2 maths. So I had actually really shown that it was because I was being taught too high of an academia. So after this school I would then move schools again and I would move into high school. Throughout my state schooling I was actually bullied really badly, and if you would like some insight onto the bullying and things like that, I do actually have a story time which is part of the bullying, which is called A Bully Tried to Drown Me, and I will leave it on the card above. It is in 2 parts I believe, so I'll leave part 1 on the card above and then there should be a link on that to be able to go on to part 2. But as I said, I moved to the high school and then I took my GCSEs. So in England, GCSEs are like the qualifications you get at the end of your schooling. So I was 16 when I took these GCSEs, and my optional GCSEs that I took was music, catering, business studies and child development. Child development was something that I always wanted to take. Business studies was something that I was like, oh, that could be helpful in the future. Music I took because I played the flute and I also like to sing, although I was told I couldn't sing. Then obviously I did catering, and catering again I thought would be something that would be useful because with catering you can then use that to apply to make food in your adult life. So I did these GCSEs along with the compulsory qualifications, the maths, English and the science, and I came out with marks that were passing marks of all of them. My highest grade was in child development and I got an A in my child development. So I was overall was very pleased with all the grades I got. I didn't get exceptionally good grades, but I also didn't fail any of my subjects. So I was very happy with all of that. Then I moved on to, and I stayed at the school for a year, and I only stayed at this school for a year because I was determined to do A-levels. And for A-levels I had picked, I think it was like psychology, biology and chemistry, I think it was, something like that. I'd picked some really hardcore subjects, not kind of really realising how difficult they were going to be, but I ended up failing pretty much all my subjects apart from psychology. Psychology I got a D, which at A level was a pass. So the only ones that would be a fail would be an F, G and a U. So that's kind of how they did it. They went A, B, C, D, E, F, G and then U. So anything from an F and below would have been a fail, but I got a D, which was okay, like it was a pass. So from that point on, because I had failed 2 of my subjects, I couldn't move on with only 1 subject. I couldn't move on and just do psychology. And also a D wasn't seen as something that would mean you would want to continue that subject. But because a D was my highest grade, they had to discuss as to whether I would retake the year or whether I'd go on to college. In the end, I was persuaded to go to college. I didn't want to go to college. I honestly didn't. I was scared of the change and was happy where I was. I didn't want to change and go to to a new environment, a new place, to study a completely new subject. But they said to me, you could move in September and you could do a 2-year course and be over and done in 2 years, or you could stay for an extra year, retake your A-levels with no guarantee of passing them again. So you're more likely to get a good qualification out of going to college and doing a coursework related course. So in the end, I did actually take their advice and I went to college. I went to college and I took BTEC in a health and social care, extended diploma level 3. So it was actually the highest grade of the diploma I could have taken. But this wasn't without challenges. So throughout the whole of my college, I actually ended up being admitted to a psychiatric unit for, I think it was about 3 or 4 months towards the end of my second year. And then when I came out of that, I then had lots of catching up work to do, and I was unbelievably stressed, but I did end up passing, and I did end up getting a fairly middle of the range grade, which was good enough to get me into most unis, but obviously not exceptional. From there, I decided I wasn't going to go straight to uni, and I decided I was going to work. So for a little while, I was out of work, I was claiming benefits, and after that, I then got a job. I got a job as a classroom assistant, otherwise known as a teaching assistant, in a primary school. This was amazing. This was a good fresh start that I needed. But what happened was the environment wasn't the best. A lot of the staff that I ended up working with just didn't understand mental health. And when I would need 5 minutes, they didn't give me those 5 minutes. And then they would wonder why I would have a massive breakdown. So I ended up being admitted to a psychiatric unit again and having to take, I think, about 3 or 4 months off sick. And I truly believe that I wouldn't have had to take that time off sick if I'd had a nurturing, kind environment and I wasn't being bullied by one of the teachers above me that, was supposed to be the person that was mentoring me. So from then, I left that job and I went back to college to study an access to nursing. I actually later found out that I didn't actually need to study an access to nursing, that I could have applied directly to uni. But I decided I was going to do the Access to Nursing. The Access to Nursing course was a year, and I did that. I passed with nearly full marks, which was my highest obtained qualification ever. I then went and I applied for mental health nursing. I think I was probably the only student in my class who was applying for mental health nursing. The rest of them were either applying for general nursing or children's nursing or paramedic science, or some of them might have even been applying for other things relating like physiotherapy or midwifery or something like that. But I was the only person applying for mental health nursing. But I did really have a true passion to do mental health nursing, and I was a lot more stable. I definitely wanted to do mental health nursing, and I really wanted to make a difference in people's lives. The thought and the compassion behind it was there. I started mental health nursing and I was fine to begin with. And it wasn't until I got bullied by one of the other fellow students that things just took a turn for the worse. So I was being bullied by this other student, and I ended up having to drop out of the course. I dropped out of the course with a diploma in healthcare. I did actually get a qualification from doing that 1 year in nursing because I had learned quite a decent amount of basic nursing skills. From there, I didn't really have a job. I was off sick for a little bit, and then I went back to uni to study midwifery. But unfortunately, my physical health was the one that was going to get in the way this time. I ended up studying midwifery for 3 or 4 months, and in that time I couldn't handle it because my physical health was taking a turn for the worse, and then my physical health was affecting my mental health. So in the end, I made the executive decision to leave the course and to quit before I actually got too deep into this. So I ended up quitting midwifery as well. And since then, I have had to come to terms with the fact that I've quit 2 uni courses and the debt that it's left me with. But now today, I'm sitting in front of you trying to build a YouTube channel, trying to become an influencer in a social media, I don't even know what this would be called, but like a content creator that helps people to feel less alone. So I'm still going to be able to help people just in a different way. And it took me a long time to realise that content creation and being creative in a workforce and in this sort of line of work, when it hopefully eventually becomes my work, is something that is still going to help people. I'm still going to help people by telling my story. It's just not going to be in direct contact with somebody. I believe that if I'd started this job or got on the road to this job a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But I didn't actually start this journey, this influencer journey, until I was 18 months into my recovery. I'm now sitting in front of you and I'm 2.5 years into my recovery. And I have never felt better. I am able to handle things a lot more, and I'm able to actually know how to handle situations. Yes, I'm still not like a normal person. I still have my issues. I still have my struggles. But coming to terms with recovery and coming to terms with the fact that I'm not a failure and that I do actually have a purpose in my life is a big thing for me. So as far as my dreams go from now on, I want to be a social media influencer. I want to be a mental health advocate. My biggest dreams would be to work with some of the biggest mental health charities such as Mind, such as Childline, but also I really do want to start doing live talks. I want to be able to go on a stage and talk about mental health and be candid about it, because mental health, yes, we have got a bit of a better understanding of it, but we still haven't made not as much progress as I feel we need to make. There is still a lot of people who just don't understand mental health, and some of them are ignorant and some people don't want to understand, but I feel that it's just not talked about enough, and especially when it comes to some of the disorders that are still very stigmatized. But that is it for today's video. I hope you have had some insight getting to know me about my history and my career and my education, and now what I hope to do. As a child, I wanted to be a midwife, and now I want to be a social media influencer. Two completely different ends of the spectrum, but I hope you will support me on this journey. So before you go, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you never miss one of my videos. But thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Just like you're young again, no, don't you cry. Just get back up again.